Welcome to Breaking News to Trading Moves.
We've got some material in front of us that details a pretty major movement in the tech sector.
And it all seems to center around server chips and, well, the ongoing build-out of AI infrastructure.
It's a classic case study. When a single specialized component sees this kind of demand, it puts pressure on the whole supply chain.
So our goal here is to focus on that central event, an upgrade for advanced microdevices, and then trace who wins and who feels the squeeze from it.
Exactly. It's all about how supply constraints are shaping the market right now.
Okay, so let's set the stage. The starting point for all of this was KeyBanc upgrading advanced microdevices. That's AMD.
Right. They moved the stock rating to Overweight.
But the rating itself isn't the story, it's the why behind it.
That's where it all connects. The analysts pointed to their internal checks, which showed this rapidly growing demand from hyperscalers.
For AMD's server CPUs, the central processing units.
And specifically to power these massive AI infrastructure projects. This isn't your standard data center refresh.
No, this is highly specialized, and the speed of it is what caught my eye. The information suggests demand is so intense that AMD is pretty much sold out.
Sold out of these server CPUs for the entire year of 2026.
2 years out, think about that.
Being sold out 2 years in advance, that just changes the entire dynamic you have with your customers. It gives AMD a massive strategic advantage.
It implies that the big players, the hyperscalers building these huge AI clusters, have already locked in their bets on AMD's tech for that core job.
For at least the next 2 years, yeah.
And when you have that kind of supply constraint, that leads directly to one thing: pricing power.
It means higher margins. The material suggests that because of this tight supply, AMD might be looking at a price increase.
How much are we talking?
Potentially between 10 and 15%, and it could start as early as the first quarter.
Wow. Okay, so that immediately affects every single company that either uses these chips or competes against them.
From the biggest cloud companies all the way down to enterprise IT budgets.
So let's follow that trail. Let's start with the winners. We've got 3 groups of companies that are set to benefit from this AI server boom.
The first category is the most direct one: AI server compute.
Makes sense. So what's the mechanism there?
It's pretty simple, really. When hyperscalers are all fighting for the same high-performance chips, the tight supply lifts everyone making premium hardware.
A rising tide, so to speak.
Right.
Better pricing and better margins for everyone in that top tier.
Exactly. So we're talking about the key designers of AI silicon. Of course, that includes the catalyst here, advanced microdevices, ticker AMD.
It's not just them.
No. NVIDIA, that's ticker NVDA, and also Broadcom, ticker AVGO. They all benefit because specialized silicon is basically the most valuable resource in tech right now.
Okay, so you've got the chips, but you need to put them somewhere.
Which brings us to our second category: the server makers and the AI infrastructure integrators.
These are the companies turning the silicon into actual working hardware.
That's it. As AI deployment ramps up, it just translates into more full server orders. We're talking complete rack scale builds, integrated AI servers.
And it probably speeds up the hardware refresh cycles too, right? More volume, faster.
Absolutely. The system builders who package all that value together are the ones capturing that next slice.
So who are we talking about here?
Companies like Supermicrocomputer, ticker SMCI. Then you have Dell Technologies, which is ticker DELL, and Hewlett Packard Enterprise, ticker HPE.
Their bottom line is directly tied to how many racks those big cloud customers are ordering.
That's the business. They profit from the complexity of putting all these powerful systems together.
Right, so we've covered the brains, the chips, and the bodies they go into.
Yeah.
What's the third group of winners?
Data center networking. It sometimes gets overlooked, but honestly, you could argue it's the most critical piece for making large-scale AI actually work.
Because if the components can't talk to each other, they're useless.
You got it. You can have the best CPUs and GPUs in the world, but if they can't communicate at lightning speed, you just have a bunch of smart individuals, not a collective superbrain.
And AI clusters need to move just immense amounts of data.
At extremely high speeds and with very, very low latency.
Low latency is the key there. We're not talking about your home internet. We're talking about moving petabytes of data inside the data center itself.
Rack to rack, almost instantaneously. It requires purpose-built, premium equipment.
And that just fuels demand for that networking gear.
It does. So companies like Arista Networks, ticker ANET, benefit. Also, Cisco Systems, ticker CSCO, and Marvell Technology, MRVL.
They're selling the plumbing, the high-speed switches, the interconnects that tie it all together.
They're the backbone of the AI factory.
That lays out the upside pretty clearly. But as you said, this kind of market pressure isn't a one-way street. High demand for one player creates, well, headwinds for others.
Definitely. Let's pivot to the other side of the coin. The market action for AMD creates some turbulence for three other groups.
Where do we start?
The first category facing that pressure is competing CPU platforms.
Okay, and the logic here is just straight competition.
Purely strategic. If AMD is seeing this level of demand sold out through 2026, maybe raising prices, their direct rivals are in a tough spot. They're facing a potential loss of market share in the most important growth sector, which is AI.
It's almost like being locked out for a couple of years.
It's a major hurdle, at the very least. This directly impacts Intel, ticker INTC, as they're trying to regain ground in the server space.
And what about ARM?
It also affects ARM Holdings, ticker ARM, because they're pushing their own server architecture. While AMD is locking in 2 years of revenue and design wins, these competitors have to fight that much harder to prove their value.
All right, what's the second category feeling the pressure?
This one is a bit of a paradox. The cloud and data center operators themselves.
Hey, they're the ones buying everything. How are they listed as being constrained? How's the buyer taking the hit?
Because they have no choice. They absolutely have to compete in the AI arms race. The loss for them is purely financial. It's about their capital expenditure, their CapEx.
So they're in a high-stakes auction where they have to pay whatever it costs to stay in the game.
Precisely. The tight CPU supply, plus that potential 10 to 15% price hike, just cranks up the cost to build each new AI server.
And for companies at that scale, that's a massive number.
A massive number. Think about Amazon, ticker AMZN, and Alphabet, ticker GOGL. They're the ones driving this demand, but they're also the ones driving this demand. But they're also the ones absorbing these huge cost increases.
So even though AI is their future, in the short term, it's hitting their margins.
It immediately pressures their operating margins and their spending forecasts. They pay more for the components, and that eats into their profitability for the next few quarters, even if they expect a big payoff down the road.
They're caught between needing the best AI and the rising cost of building it.
And that forces them to make some hard choices about where their money goes, which leads right into our final pressure point.
The traditional hardware buyers.
Right. Hardware buyers with heavy server spend, particularly in the enterprise segment.
Okay, so what's the squeeze on them?
It's all about priority. Every available AI chip, every dollar of a hyperscaler's budget, every bit of factory capacity is being funneled into these AI buildouts.
And because that AI gear is getting more expensive.
Other projects get delayed. Enterprises might decide to hold off on or trim their non-AI IT refreshes.
So if you're a big company that just needs to upgrade your regular general-purpose servers, you might find that the components are delayed or your budget gets reallocated.
That's exactly it, and that creates headwinds for the companies that rely on that traditional tech spending.
Who does the material point to there?
Specifically, Oracle, ticker ORCL, and International Business Machines, IBM. Their normal product cycles can slow down when their enterprise clients are either saving money or putting it all into AI.
So to pull it all together, a surge in demand for one specific part, the AMD server CPU, sends these effects all through the supply chain.
You have clear beneficiaries and other chip makers and the server builders.
But also clear pressure on AMD's rivals, and, most critically, on the very cloud companies that started the whole thing.
And the core of it is that financial tension for companies like Amazon and Alphabet. They have to balance the absolute strategic need to build out their AI capabilities against the short-term hit to their operating margins from these rising costs.
Which leaves a key question for you to think about. As these component prices keep going up, do the hyperscalers just absorb that cost forever? Or will they eventually pass those higher infrastructure costs onto their customers? That could set a whole new price for using cloud-based AI. Something to watch.
And before we sign off, just a reminder, this discussion is not financial advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any security. This is purely the opinion of the author of the material presented.
Thanks for joining us on Breaking News to Trading Moves. We look forward to tracking the next market movement with you.